Hello everyone, I'm Nicolas Drougard and I will present some contributions from the chair Neurodadaptive Technology for Human-Machine Teaming. I had the chance to supervise two PhD students, Jyoti Ju, who will present her contributions just after me, and Giorgio Angelotti, who contributed on offline reinforcement learning. So first, the contributions of Giorgio. Giorgio Angelotti was working on how to improve human-machine interaction offline. So how can you improve the supervision of human-machine interaction from previously collected data? The issue here is that the data is missing. We don't have a lot of data. It's expensive to collect this data. And another issue is the intersubject variability. You will learn more with Jyoti. So the contributions of Giorgio are first data augmentation for offline reinforcement learning, then risk-aware policy selection, how to extract a policy that is not risky from the fixed data set, and then application to human-machine interaction. So the context is offline reinforcement learning, and in this case, you can't explore the environment. You have to use only the fixed data set that has been collected previously. Okay, and your goal is to produce a policy that is better than the policy which was used to collect data. So the big issue with that is when you can't explore your environment, you will have bad estimates of the Q values, so you will not be able to have good backups. So you should be risk aware when you compute your policy. The different contributions of Giorgio submissions. You have the first. He was able to publish a workshop paper on review of the literature on offline reinforcement learning. Then two international conferences on using symmetries to augment the data set for offline reinforcement learning. Then two submitted papers, one in a journal for offline risk-aware policy selection, and another one on the application on HMI. So I will speak about all of this, but not on the last paper he published. That was on explainability for multi-agent system. So the first contribution on data augmentation, the idea is quite simple. You have, in many environments, you have some symmetries, and you can use them to augment your data set. Typically, if you have a data set of transitions, so state, action, and next state, you can, if your symmetry is valid on your data set, on your environment, you can transform all the samples with the symmetry, so you make your data set bigger. But you have to be sure that the symmetry is valid in your environment. So that was the contribution of Giorgio. So he found a way to validate the symmetries. You can see in this environment, you have some symmetries. Three of them, three symmetries that are valid. You see in the center that you can was able to discriminate which symmetry was valid. The three that are above the threshold 0.5 are valid, and the three others are not valid. And you see on the right that by using the augmented dataset, you can improve the performance as soon as your dataset is small, because otherwise you have enough data to produce a good policy. So that was the first contribution of Giorgio. The second one on risk-aware policy selection. The idea is that if you don't have enough data to have a good model, you can try to model the uncertainty on your model, and you will be interested in maximizing some quantiles or some value at risks. And for that, Giorgio used the Bayesian framework, defining a Bayesian prior and using the dataset to produce the posterior distribution of the model. And then by using this posterior, he was able to sample many models, so many transition functions. until statistical significance of the quantile you want to compute. And he was doing this for all the set of policies he wanted to evaluate, and then you just have to select the best policy according to this matrix. He tried this algorithm on 3 toy environments, and this policy selection method, risk-aware policy selection method, was comparable, was competitive with the state of the art. And I go to the last contributions. That was the application of these tools to human-machine interaction. He wanted to go further and to integrate the fact that the mental state of the human operator is partially observable. You cannot measure it directly. So we are, in this case, in a context of partial observability. The context, the use case he was using was a serious game, firefighter game, robot firefighter game. So your goal is to drive a robot to fight fires. But as a human, you have also other tasks to perform, side tasks. This was a multitask game. And the supervision we want to produce, like the policy we want to produce, is to decide when we make the robot autonomous or drivable by the operator. The other thing we want to decide over time is when we provide alarms to the operator and when we don't provide any information. So that was the actions of the POMDP or the MDP. So previously we were sampling models that was sampling transition probabilities. In this case, we have also the observation probabilities because we are in the partially observable case. Giorgio adapted the risk-aware policy selection for partially observable Markov decision processes. And it led to the POMDP adaptive strategy that was computed from the initial collected dataset. Another policy was produced was the MDP adaptive strategy, when you consider that the noisy measured mental state is in fact the actual mental state. So you don't take into account that the state is not fully observable. We were comparing that with the full automatic policy. So it's a baseline when the operator has only the side task to perform. So for sure, this policy is easier for the agent and is more performant. But the goal was to decide when we give the control to the human or not. So giving the full autonomy to the robot is not something we want to obtain in this case. And the last policy was the data collector policy. So we want to see if in a new campaign of data collection, the produced policy are better than the data collector policy. And we see that it is the case. The POMDP strategy on the right was better than the data collector policy, as well as the MDP one. And as we know, the baseline is quite the best. Okay, and we selected one of the POMDP model to update a belief over time during the experiment, the new data collection campaign. And we saw that the belief on the performance of the human operator was correlated with the actual score of the game. So this was an interesting result also. So with the contributions of Giorgio, we see that offline reinforcement learning could improve human-machine interaction. But we can also teaming up better with people by better understanding their state. So I will give the floor to Jiaoqi to present her work on EEG-based brain-computer interface.
So as Nicolas has mentioned, It's very challenging to reliably infer the mental states. Sorry. Yes. From EEG data because it varies from time to time and to person. And that means a classifier that works now might not work if we change the time or the person. During my thesis, I provided 3 solutions from 3 different perspectives to deal with this problem that I will give more detail in a few minutes. Here you see the EEG data collected from different sessions and subjects. The colors correspond to different subjects. And the small clusters are the data collected from the same session. And you see a clear shift from session to session, and even bigger shift if you change color, so change from subject to subject. There are many reasons for this variability, ranging from some internal neural noise to some changes of the brain due to neuroplasticity, plus some external factors. Traditional solutions consist in applying transfer learning techniques to align the target domain to the source domain, or some predefined functions to model the changes of the waveform. But we provided, instead, we provided solutions that are quite different. We aim at finding more robust features against intersubject variability. The first method is from a spatial point of view. So imagine the brain, the scalp, as the surface of a drum. The Laplacian eigenmodes gave the basic oscillation patterns of the surface, and we focus on the low frequency components so that we can get rid of the variabilities in the high frequencies. And the second is from a temporal point of view. We use a tool called path signature, which gives a feature map that is independent of time parametrization. So that means we can accelerate in certain intervals and slow down, and the feature will remain the same. And thirdly, we apply topological data analysis to extract topological features of the attractor of EEG dynamics. And the philosophy behind is to look at the rules of change, which might remain unchanged. Here is a list of our publications, and all of our experiments are done on publicly available data sets. We also put our code online, so you're welcome to check if you are interested. Since I have very limited time, I will mainly focus on one contribution. It's a collaboration with colleagues from EPFL during my visit there. So a very brief introduction of path signature. It was first invented by mathematicians to solve differential equations. And recently, they were borrowed by machine learning community as a feature map for time series. It has many nice properties really relevant to our application, but it has never been tested for BCI, so we set out to see how it works. So given an n-dimensional time series, the path signature gives a series of signatures grouped by levels. The level 1, the level 0 signature is 1 by convention. And the level 1 involves only one component. So we have n level 1 signature. And the level 2 involves 2 components. Then we have n squared level 2 signatures, and so on. And each level is defined recursively on the previous level, which is by the formula at the bottom right. If we write down explicitly what the level 1 signature computes, we will find out it's just the change along each dimension. And the level 2 signature are the shaded areas shown at the first two, at the left figures. If we do a difference between the level 2 signatures of reverse index order, we get the signed area shown at the third figure, from which we can construct a anti-symmetric matrix that we call lead matrix, which we will use later as a feature. So path signature has many nice properties as it fully or almost fully characterizes a time series, and it turns a nonlinear classification problem to a linear one. It's very fast to compute, and most importantly for us, it is invariant under translation and time reparametrization, which can help us get rid of the variabilities due to translation or temporal changes. So the first application is quite straightforward. We have our EG signal. We apply path signature to get a feature vector, and we feed this feature vector to some classical classifiers. With a simple linear regression classifier and only level 2 signature, we already have some pretty good results. And this is not random, as this cyclicity analysis shown by the first two rows of pictures. We can completely recover the phase offsets from the phase of eigenvectors of the lead matrix that I mentioned earlier. And we did the same analysis on real EEG data, and we found also some plausible patterns in line with our neuroscience knowledge. And we can do even better to leverage the structures of lead matrix. With a small trick, we can turn it from anti-symmetric to a SPD matrix. Then we can feed it to a remaining classifier that is usually used in the BCI domain. And traditionally, it is used with the covariance matrix, but we found that our signature-based matrix significantly improve the performance for subjects that have difficulty using BCI, which is good in practice because we have a non-negligible portion of patients who struggle with traditional BCI. So with that, thank you for your attention, and we are happy to take questions.